The first question is, how have parents of students with disabilities acted as a catalyst of change throughout history? In the article, it stated like three different things that they've done. The first was how parents were able to create schools for students with special needs, but when they got together, they realized it was a bigger problem that needed to be addressed on a state and national level, which led to parents advocating for themselves and forming groups, actually going to the federal courts, and using segregation from colored students and white students to also show, hey, this isn't right for students with disabilities as well. And then they also talked about the presidential board that was created to also address these needs. For the 7 defining factors of paraprofessional relationships, I feel most confident in respect and commitment for both my students and parents because I make myself available for them at all times. They know that my classroom is a safe space. I give out my phone number in case they need to reach me at any point, and I make myself very open and available for both students and parents. The one that I'm least confident in is my professional competency. Again, this is only our second year of teaching, and we're still learning a lot. And so when I'm approached about things that I don't know a lot from and I'm having to look at the psychologist, I feel like I'm a little less than what they deserve as an RSP teacher. And while I understand that I am learning, I'm least confident in that. By Getting a Life, they're talking about making sure that the students have the right to like the best of everything. They're not just getting a job that's subpar. They're actually having the ability to get they're also able to be successful with all aspects of life, meaning like in high school they have transitioning plans, like how they're going to get to college, how they're going to work to a job, how they're going to get to A, B, and C, even with their disability. um, for the reciprocal nature of cultural reciprocity, I think it's powerful because that means you're looking at all areas to make sure you have the best thing for the child. You're looking at their cultural background, their educational background, their family background. You're working together to develop a plan that best affects them for those areas. Looking at the cultural motive, it reminds me of a TED talk about the why, and how it was explained with that is we could look at, oh, it's all backwards. We could look at the what first and the how, and then the why it's important. But if we understand the why, then we can figure out how we want it and then what we're going to do about it, right? So if we're looking at the why behind the background, like what's motivational for the parents and the students, then we can actually work together in a way that address these beliefs first so that we can understand like why this is actually important. And once we figure out why this is the important aspect of everything, then we can go about how to make things work for that issue. Finally, looking at the final steps, I think the first step, which was the identifying the cultural values that are embedded in the interpretation of a student's difficulties, are the recommendation for services, right? I feel like throughout our IEP meetings, a lot of the time parents are talked to, not talked with. And so trying to figure out what they value and what they believe in is sometimes hard because we, as the leaders do this, don't actually recognize, like, hey, we need your input here. We need you to speak here so we can understand this. So actually figuring out what's important to the family involves significant amount of trust and respect that one meeting in a year doesn't necessarily do for parents and students. So I feel like that would be the hardest. And yeah,